Channel. Today I wanted to share or do a little bit different video than I normally do. I felt really compelled to make this sort of video for a long time, I would say, and for whatever reason it keeps getting put off, and it's really resonating with me right now, and I think that's because it's really close to the anniversary of part of my story. So I always, for whatever, just subconsciously seem to get emotional during, certain times during the year because of this. But I wanted to preface with saying that I just want this to kind of be a positive video so other people can feel free to share their stories either in the comments or whatnot, and just so there's a place where we can support each other. So I know story time videos are popular, whatever. I wouldn't necessarily. I think I may title this story time I gave birth to a dead baby, but I mean I know that's very blunt. But sometimes I think to get your point across to people that haven't gone through this situation, you have to be blunt like that. Not in a negative way, but just in a realization sort of way. So let's see. I just turned 26, and so when I was 21, I gave birth to a stillborn baby. And let's see. When I went to my first doctor's visit at 11 weeks gestation, and my baby was okay. The doctor didn't say anything. It was an older model ultrasound machine, I think, that she used in my particular OB's office, and everything looked right. I got to see the baby move and hear her heartbeat for the first time, and I know if you're not a parent or haven't experienced it, you wouldn't know what a gift that situation is, but it is that is one of my favorite memories in life for sure. That is one of my favorite moments I've ever gotten to experience. So, all happy and everything, in my next appointment, I'm sorry, I have some tissues ready, was at 14 weeks gestation. And I remember being really excited, and I got off work, and I got ready, and I did my makeup, and I was really hoping, I remember I took about 1,000, what gender is your baby quizzes. And I know that typically you don't get to find out till 21 weeks or around there, but I was really hoping that, maybe my OB would take a peek on our machine again just so we could possibly see. So we went in, my husband and I went in for our appointment, and everything sounded okay with the little fetal tones heart monitor. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it at the moment. But, and she just said, hey, you know what? It was at the end of the day, I don't think she had any more patients, and she offered, do you want to go to the ultrasound room and see if we can take a quick peek and just see how the baby is, possibly, see if we can tell what gender the baby is. And of course, I was so excited because I really wanted to have a little girl at that time, and so I was like, yes, I can't wait. So we went in there, and I remember my doctor saying, I see a sac by the baby's neck. If she said on the baby's neck, I don't have a recollection of that or anything. I thought there was something wrong in my uterus at that moment, and I wasn't at that moment. I guess I was just kind of in shock, so I didn't really know what to feel. I remember my mom was there, and, she called my dad, and we were immediately, I guess this should have been a red flag, but I think I was just in shock, because I was really young, and everyone's like, oh, that doesn't happen to you, and the world doesn't prepare you for that. What the world or society prepares you for is once you make it past 12 weeks, you are in the clear, there's nothing that can happen, and that I really do not like that. I really feel like there needs to be more education and awareness that things can still happen. Not like you should be paranoid 24/7, when you're pregnant or wanting to have a child, but just that you're knowledgeable that, things can still happen and, that's a possibility. And I don't feel like that's ever really stated. So we got immediately referred to the maternal fetal specialist, and so we were in the waiting room. I remember my mom asking me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm not worrying right now. I'm pretty sure I was in shock at that moment. I'm not worrying right now because I don't really know what's going on. I thought there was maybe I had cancer in my uterus. My more thought was is the baby gonna be okay? Is it something that the baby can still live with, or they can operate on and not hurt the baby. So we get to the specialist, and this was the worst experience of my life. The specialist just, I don't know, wasn't my cup of tea. He just started saying lots of words at that time that I did not know the meaning to. Medical terms, which now, with my job and the schooling that I've gone through, I know those terms now, but the average person, unless you're in the medical field, you're not going to know what those words mean. I know he said non-immune high drops, cystic hygroma, and then pleural effusion, and then he said another one that I can't think of at the moment. And I didn't know what those were, at that time, but I knew enough. I mean, and he wasn't talking to me. This is the thing. I'm in here. I'm 21 years old. This is my first baby. This is my second appointment. I've been rushed over here because of some sack somewhere, either on me or the baby. And he's not talking to me at all. I understand that, this is diagnostic and it was emergent and whatnot, but I will kind of want to know what's going on. I'm sitting here, you got this jelly all over my belly, but his intonation just, I don't know. I just knew that it was not good in the sense that I didn't think my baby was going to live, and I remember that's exactly what I said to him, and I said, is my baby going to die? And he just said yes, and that was a very horrifying moment, and especially the way that he couldn't even have the respect to talk to me. I was just okay. A lot of it after that moment is I can vividly remember the room and sitting there and the people in the room. I know more things were said and recorded and measured, and I know that he gave me or gave us the what's it that that she probably the baby only had 2 weeks left, if that, while I was inside of me before she would pass on because of the severity of what was going on. So I guess I'll share what she has. She had, and this is what he ended up saying to us, the working diagnosis, which they had to confirm through an amniocentesis, which was another lovely situation, was that she had Turner syndrome, which is a genetic disorder, but not an inherited genetic disorder. I know there's different theories about why it can happen, but it's nothing anyone actually does, or no genes you carry that cause it, but it's genetic in the sense that it affects your chromosomes, and it only happens to little girls, so they can, you're supposed to have 2 X chromosomes, so they either have 1 X or 1 and a partial, so they don't have 2 full ones, but maybe 1.5 or something. I'm not a doctor, so but from my understanding. So this is a completely livable disease or disorder. 1 in 1,200 live births, so this doesn't count my little one, but 1 in 1,200 live births of little girls result in this, particular disorder, chromosomal disorder, on, regular. It's completely livable. So now she had side effects from it that are what caused it to be not livable. So at that time, they told us, this is going to be like an hour-long video. I'm really sorry. If anyone watches this, I greatly appreciate it because I just need to, get it out. So they said they needed to confirm with an amniocentesis that that's exactly what she had. And that surprised it's a little girl. What a way to find out. And I know that I really struggled for a long time with feeling guilty, wanting to know what the gender of the baby was instead of just asking for a healthy baby. Not that I didn't want a healthy baby, but, I just obviously, when before you go through something like this, you don't think of something like that. And so you just expect your baby to be healthy, I guess. Instead of realizing what, a gift that truly can be. So we go in for the amnio, and it's just lovely. He can't get the needle to puncture through the sac, of course. So that was really fun and painful. So I had to have another one in 2 weeks after that. So at 16 weeks, I ended up having a second amnio in which they were able to get the amniotic fluid out of the sac and confirm that, that was her diagnosis. So at that time, or around that time, we had to meet with a team or a board of people. They had a genetic counselor there, who basically informed us, it's not something that we should typically ever have to worry about more than anyone else has to worry about happening again. I'll link down below. I wrote a blog post kind of about my story right after this happened, and it's very raw emotion. I read it a couple weeks ago, and it just made me cry. So, but it's very raw, so I can, link that if anyone's interested in reading it. But anyways, so there was a palliative care doctor there with her team, the maternal fetal specialist, my OB, and the genetic counselor. So those people were there. My mom was there. My husband was there. I was there. Kind of to get our plans on what we want to do. So a couple options we had at this time were I could have an abortion. That was lovely. And then I could have an abortion. I could carry her until she passed, whether that be while I was carrying her, in utero, or shortly after birth. And we had to create a birth plan of what we wanted to be done, in the event of stillbirth or in the event of birth and passing shortly after. So the doctor had given her 2 weeks. So at this time, I was 16, so she'd already made it past the 2 weeks that the maternal fetal specialist had given her. I had to go weekly to appointments. It was very stressful. I went every Wednesday for an appointment to check her heartbeat, to make sure her heart was still beating, and to make sure I didn't develop something called mirror syndrome. I don't know all the details of it, but I know that's when a mom can develop the same symptoms from whatever is happening with the baby inside, So I had to be monitored for those. And during that little meeting, they suggested that I go to the baby store and pick out a preemie-sized outfit for whenever, if she passed while I was carrying her. To just keep ready to have with me for when I'd have to go in for delivery. So we went to, there was a Carter's store right by where I lived. And it is, and I'll talk more about it with the birth, but it is a horribly horrible flooding of a mix of emotions and instinct. This whole process of, you know, being pregnant in general, and then finding out your baby's sick, and then, you know, basically having to prepare for your baby to die at any moment at some point. And I'm here to get the outfit she's going to be buried in. Like, I don't think I can say that enough. The outfit my child is going to be buried in. That is not something any parent ever wants to do, especially when they're still carrying their baby. So I felt excitement because it's just an instinct, a motherly instinct, as you're preparing for your baby, and you're preparing and you want to get everything that, you know, you need to be ready for when your child arrives. So I had about 10 outfits in my hand. And then there came a point when I don't remember who that was with me, but someone reminded me that, you know, I had to pick just one. I mean, I could buy them all, but obviously she was only going to be able to use one. And that was a really hard moment, because it's like you're instinctively felt this excitement to prepare for your baby. And then, you know, like, that should have been a happy moment to go to. Instead, I had to pick out the outfit she was going to be buried in. And I just want to apologize in advance, / I guess it's not completely in advance, if I laugh at all. That's like a weird, like, defense mechanism, I guess, because, like, I actually want to cry, but I'm trying to refrain from crying. So I laugh at disbelief that this is actually my life sometimes. I know that sounds weird, but that's why I do it. And I try to, I guess, feel and experience the emotion, but I don't know, it's hard. So she ended up making it 8 weeks and passed what the doctor had predicted as 2 weeks. So I was 23 weeks pregnant, and this was the first week I wasn't completely expecting her to die. I know that sounds bad. Like, every week I was expecting, you know, because I could feel her move and everything, but for whatever reason, in that moment when you're in the office and you're in this situation and, you know, they're checking the heartbeat, it's like you hold your breath until you feel your baby's heartbeat. So for stress reasons, I had been going just to my OB after my 16-week amnio for, like, the fetal heart tones, just to make sure everything was on point. And she was, like, the sweetest woman in the world. She would take me to her ultrasound, because she would do an initial ultrasound for whenever you found out you're pregnant, and, you know, give them, your parents, you know, a photo of their, you know, the first photo of their baby. So I have some very cherished photos, because she would typically take me in there weekly and, you know, take a picture of the baby whenever she found her heartbeat and stuff. And so this week was my week with the maternal fetal specialist, again, because they had to measure the baby again, kind of like an update. I guess it's typically around that time. You know, when you're carrying a baby, you have to get your measurements done. So I had to go again, and that's a very stressful situation. And so I waited an hour or two, and I know while I was sitting there waiting, I felt her move. I can remember, because I had this purple shirt on, and I remember the chair I was sitting in, and I felt her move and whatnot. And so we get in there, and this was the longest and the shortest, you know, like, a couple minutes of my life at the same time. The ultrasound tech, it felt like forever that she was searching for the, you know, to find the baby's heartbeat. And I remember saying that to her, you know, like, is the baby's heart beating? And she goes, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm looking at right here. And, like, realistically, like, thinking back on it now, like, yeah, that should have been, like, number one, like, hey, something's not right. And then it was like a couple minutes later, you know, and we were informed, you know, that my daughter had passed on. And I know that it seems like since we had the news, like, oh, that should be easier. Like, I've had people tell me that, like, oh, at least you knew what was wrong. Well, yes, I knew it was wrong, but I didn't really have a reason why it happened. Like, it just happened. There was no reason to tell me why this, you know, like, why my baby had to be sick. And it is not any easier. Like, it's like, instead of, you know, I had my heart ripped out twice, like, I had to find out. Not that she was sick, because, you know, if my baby was sick, you know, I wish it was something survivable or livable. You know, and I always had hope, but I don't know. I think I struggled with it so much. I don't know, because I feel like part of me knew that, you know, she didn't have a long time on Earth, and so I remember I like screamed out in a cry pain. It's like really weird, but like I can remember it. And like, we were moved to a special room in another part of the office, like another little conference room. And basically the end decision was we had the night, I guess, to realize that was happening. I remember they told us that, because I had felt her move, that she hadn't been passed away long from whatever they can see or tell, unless they were just telling me that. I mean, you know, because I could feel her move, you know, I'm not, whatever. And so, I don't know, I feel like she must have, I know this sounds really weird, but like I feel like she must have passed away at some point while I was waiting. I don't know if that was so I didn't have to go through that anymore, but no. I would go through it again just to have 5 more seconds with her. And, so, I was in labor for 21 hours, and I guess technically when you have like a stillbirth, that's a short period of time, as they expected me to be in labor for at least like 48 hours. You know, so I guess that's a good thing, you know? And, like I had her, I birthed her vaginally, you know, and, gosh, I remember seeing her for the first time and holding her, and she was, you know, so beautiful. And I know this sounds really weird, but she felt so alive to me right then when I got to hold her. Like, I just never wanted to let her go. And it's so hard because when you have a baby, it's whatever hormones and whatnot are released in your body have natural reactions to things. And I kept thinking she was feeling like she was hungry and she needed to be fed, and I'm sorry, I didn't expect to get this emotional, you know. I don't get to talk about it a lot. You know what I wish I could. I wish people, you know, wanted to know about her, because she is a very important part of my life, you know, and my heart. And so, like, to say, when you have a baby, like, after you have a baby, you just sort of feel like in this euphoria. Like, I know that sounds really weird, but like for the first years after you and the baby, like you feel complete. Like you feel just at peace and happy, and I felt that way. And so I had her baptized at the hospital, and we had baptism for her in the hospital room. This was like 6 or so hours after she was born. And we have a picture of it. It's the moment that sort of euphoric feeling started to fade. because it's like I was so happy, like rationally, like I knew she was dead, like she was not alive, but I felt like she was because I just birthed a child, and instinctually, scientifically, whatever, like I physically felt happy and complete, and like here's my baby, I get to take care of my baby. And I know they're so contradictory, but it's like your body, just whatever sort of hormones or pheromones, whatever's released, you feel this way. So at that moment in her baptism, it was like right in the middle of it, I felt it. I felt that and it all just came crashing down on me, because during like the labor and delivery part, like you're just having contractions and in like a crap ton of pain, and they have to use a little bit different of medicine because I was earlier, obviously it was a stillbirth, but she was at full term, so like they had to use a different type of medicine to get me to dilate, since my body wasn't normally thinking like, hey, let's have a baby. So that moment, like right in the middle, I just lost my shit. I just started crying, and I'm laughing because it's really a sad moment. It is like very hard. And that was the moment when it just like life crashed down on me, and like my world just like stopped again. Like I'm not going to take her home, and I'm not going to, get to rock her to sleep. I don't get to watch her learn to walk or hear her first word or hear her cry even. I'll never see her graduate. I got to hold her for one last time, and I had to basically sign my rights over to her body to the funeral home, and that's a pretty momentous moment as well, in general for a parent, especially for your baby. And to see him in that coffin that's like, like this big. So I had to sign my rights over to her, and we had a funeral, and I don't know. I chose to. You can choose to have your baby cremated or buried, or you have different options. And personally, I chose to have her buried, and I used to. For a good while, I would wake up in the middle of the night crying because I just felt like she was cold, or I felt like she was hungry, and I was like, she's far, and what can I do? Like, I can't get to her, and it's a very hard and horrible situation, and I wish no one ever had to go through it, but I just wanted to make this video just, so people know they're not alone. There was also a hashtag going around, and I know it's used for, like, domestic violence as well, but when I first learned about it was for pregnancy and infant loss, and it's Break the Silence. So I just wanted to break my silence with my story, because I feel like every life is important, and people wanted to comment to be a safe place to share their story and find support, or if there's any questions you have about my story or situation, or if there's anything further you'd like to hear, like positives I've learned from it, or things I did to help cope or deal with my pain and grief and whatnot like that, like I'd love to share, because I feel like I went through this for a reason, and a very big part of my heart feels very importantly about just supporting other people that are going through it. I think that's really like a big passion of mine. I want to be there for others. So if you stuck through to the end of this, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.